Well, I think it's important too, the flexibility of it is sometimes you don't want to have to sell from your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to be a forced seller. When the unexpected happens, if you need cash, if the markets aren't cooperating, this is another solution. Maybe the markets are down 10, 20%, and you want to tap into some of the lending that you can do just to give you that flexibility. And I think that's kind of a great way to kind of talk about the different ways you can do it. I think there's probably two major ones that we could look at and kind of talk about. Dave, I think you said you used one coming up here. So, and I guess I'm a golden retriever. I don't know if anyone can see, we have actually a golden retriever.
You can't see Lila on the ground here, and we're so sorry. But we'll post some pictures on social for you all to see Lila just basically napping down here underneath our feet. So,
but the big thing is again, a lot of people, these solutions can get complex, and we want to help make it easy for clients to understand and other people what this really means. So pretend I'm the golden retriever here and explain to me just in your kind of quick, what is margin? And margin is really, I think, the first solution we can talk about. So really, when you look at kind of what is the simplest version of margin, I think, Dave, you said it perfectly. It's very easy to set up.
right.
That's a huge benefit of it. You can turn on margin on taxable accounts. Usually IRAs, you can't do it. But with taxable accounts, you can turn on this capability that allows you to borrow normally up to 50% of the value.
Right. So since you're explaining it, pretend I'm the golden retriever. Okay. Explain it to me.
So as someone who used it, right?
Right.
That's
Kind of test.
Yeah, right. You look at your portfolio value, taxable value,
Uh-huh.
you sign some paperwork,
Mm-hmm.
and what that allows you to do is to take money from the portfolio without having to sell. You're basically taking out a loan against your portfolio.
Right.
And that's almost really as simple as it is. I think when people talk about it, the biggest maybe difference between margin and other lines of credits, you're not limited on what you could use the funds for. So when you take the money out of the portfolio, you can use it for a bridge loan to pay either employees to have the cash flow. There's some people out there, and I think this is where margin gets its risky kind of connotation, who use it to then buy more stocks.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the risk comes in. If you're using it more as a cash planning tool, I think the risks are very different.
Right.
So I guess, how did I do?
Well, that's great, because some of the terminology that listeners may recognize is you may hear on CNBC or something where people say like, oh, we're 130% long. Okay. Well, how do you get that extra 30% over 100%? You borrow money and then, like you said, invest it back in the portfolio. So if there's a downturn in the portfolio, the person who lent you the money is going to say, you got to sell some stocks to cover this loan because the portfolio balances. That's where things get so risky.
Yeah.
But if you're just borrowing the money to do something, here's a popular one I've seen in the past where people have said, I'm buying a new house and I haven't sold my old house yet. I need money for a down payment now. When I sell the house, I'll put the money back in. That awesome use of margin or line of credit, either one.
And I think it's with margin specifically, it is the ease of access.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically, once you have it all set up, you finish the paperwork, you can get those funds same day if you wire them out of your accounts. So there's not, a big process of really getting access to this. I think it kind of depends though, of course, all accounts are not able to add this. Usually retirement accounts, you can't do it. And not every position is what they call marginable, or you can borrow against it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to kind of do the math, do the legwork up front to see how much you can actually borrow. Again, normally it's around 50%. But I think, Dave, you're kind of hitting on one of the biggest maybe costs of a margin loan. And I think we just talked a lot about how easy it is, some of the benefits of it. Well, nothing in this world is free.
Right.
So when you look at the cost, in addition to the interest rate, which I want to talk about a little bit too, the biggest risk is having what they say is a margin call. So remember, your investments are the collateral on this loan,
Mm-hmm.
but your investments are moving with the market value. If that market value falls enough and all of a sudden your collateral is not large enough to cover your loan, you got two options and they have to happen pretty quickly. You can either put more money into your account,
Make a deposit.
which again, the whole point of this was you didn't have the cash, so you used the cash,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to have to be forced to sell securities. So sell from your account, sell some of your holdings to pay down this margin loan. Well, I just said your account value has gone down. Now you're selling when things have already lost in price. You're locking in those losses just because you have that extra risk of the collateral if you borrow too much maybe against on that margin loan.
Right.
You can't carry it. And so I think that's always one risk that people really underappreciate. And that's more of a hidden cost than a direct one for me.
Highlight, though, that not every account is eligible, right?
Exactly. Yep. Like what I was saying is it really has to be a taxable portfolio. Because these are margin loans, they do not usually allow you to have a margin capabilities on an IRA account. And there's a variety of reasons for that. I don't think we need to really dive into the details there. It's more important that people, when you're thinking about, is this a solution for me? You got to remember, you got to have a taxable account to do it. You can't really do it on your 401k. There's different borrowing solutions there somewhat,
Right.
but those are even more complex and very specific to each plan. But if you have a taxable portfolio and you need that bridge funding, margin can be a solution. I think the other big cost you always have to think about, though, is in addition to it just being on taxable accounts, you're going to accrue interest on this. Now, you may not necessarily have to pay it in any certain timely fashion. You can accrue interest on it, but then interest compounds just like growth. So you want to have, that in your mind, but those rates can be pretty high sometimes on margin, if I'm being honest. With interest rates moving up over the past couple of years, you see margin rates, which are variable. So it's not a fixed loan. Again, there's no set payment terms, no set rate. They usually start at a base rate of 10% and then get added on the different spread. And 10% is really just numbers we're seeing across the industry. Everyone is different. So you can rate shop a little bit to figure it out. But, I've seen rates up to 12% to be borrowing, which is nothing to laugh at.